Tell us how you met and what attracted you to the military as a career choice.
Well, Leo and I met at our first duty station, Scott Air Force Base in Illinois, where Leo had a pay problem and came over to my office so I can help him with his pay.
Yeah, that's how we met. And shortly after, I tricked her into dating me.
It is true.
Simple as that.
Oh my.
That's awesome.
That's how, yeah.
We didn't talk about it, but I'm gonna say it anyway. It took some convincing, but it happened. 24 years later.
Yes, Leo asked me to marry him 30 days into dating, and that's just not enough time to figure out if this is a quality character for me. So I strung him along for like 2 years.
I had to ask her 3 times. Okay.
First one doesn't count. It was at Denny's. That does not count. I was like, what? No, we're at Denny's. That's not happening.
You know you know.
Exactly. Exactly. I knew.
Never give up.
I knew. I knew. It took some convincing, but I knew. Convincing her, but I knew.
That's how it goes a lot.
How long were we married now?
97.
27 years.
And talk about your career path.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you decide you wanted, what role you have now, and then what made you decide to go down that career path?
We talked about that, yeah.
So still, this is the first question, so it'll still be directed to you, Yvette, and then you'll kind of bounce off when she's finished with her answer. So, what attracted you to the military as a career choice?
What attracted me as the military, we didn't have a lot of opportunities growing up. I also was raised in a poor neighborhood. I already had a daughter, so I wanted to provide her and I a better life and a better opportunity. And working factory jobs back home was not where we wanted to be. And so joining the military was the right place. And shortly after being in the military, I had met Leo.
What about you, Leo?
Our stories are very similar. There weren't a lot of opportunities where I was coming up, and my friends' paths weren't very bright, and I wanted something different. The military offered that opportunity to me. I initially joined the military as an escape, to be honest, and it was. And it turned into a career path for me because it gave me the skills that I still use today. Like I said, contracting is the thing I've been doing my entire adult life. It's either this or be more fries with that because this is what I've been doing since 18, and I'm good at it, and that's because of the military. So what attracted it to me as a career choice is the purpose that I found after I was in it. Like what you said, we met at our first base, and I immediately knew that I wanted a family with her, and my ability to support that family was going to be through the military. And like I said, the military gave me the skills that I still use now. So.
Can I go back?
Yeah, you can go back. You said you want to go back?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, if I can.
Of course.
Okay, if I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because we talked about it, I just didn't say it. Why I made the military career was, the military expects you to do better. It expects you to improve. The military has an incredible training education program, and for us, you are not just expected. You want to do better. You want to do better in life as a whole. The military also provided me citizenship and to be an American, and that gave me a lot of pride in being an American airman and serving my country for the last 28 years has really been very rewarding to me as an individual and an American.
Could I maybe just put your hair behind your back? There we go. Yep.
I felt it moving. I knew.
Yeah, a little bit.
I saw that. I saw it moving when I did like this. I felt it move. I am on it.
Yeah. No, that was brilliant, though. What you just said was awesome.
I wanted to add that piece. I don't know how you guys can edit that, but if you need
might
it.
use it somehow.
Yeah.
So.
I thought we talked about it.
Yeah. It's,
I mean, having the diversity and inclusion, having a lot of that stuff now in this nation is very important. So
very important.
we talked about that a little briefly.
Hey, I feel the need to add this as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Along those same.
Hold on, you ready? Trey?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Sorry. Along those same lines, when I said there wasn't a lot of opportunity where I was, there wasn't. And in the military, the sky's the limit. And I saw a path of advancement there. And that was very appealing to me, as opposed to returning home where the opportunities just weren't there.
Yeah, it's super powerful. Okay, so a lot of this will be a bunch of review of kind of what we've been going over in your in individual interviews. But I want to hear both of you guys talk together about your experiences with the Fisher House. And feel free to overlap and do all the things that I told you not to do earlier. So, we'll start with you on this one. And John, when you're ready?
Yeah, right.
Yep.
So like I said, hindsight is 20/20, right? When I was brand new to the military, 95, and the Cobalt Towers in 96, I saw some of the struggles a friend of mine went through with his injury and being able to get support from his family, And when I say hindsight is 20/20, because I didn't think like I think now. Back then, I realized the deficit that was there for Rodney that isn't really the need that has been filled by the Fisher House now with stepping in and providing that piece of being a family being able to be close, when tragedy strikes, and so that was an incident where I first started out with an incident where it just didn't exist to provide it, and then fast forwarding to when I was in Iraq and the people that got injured going home and knowing that they have that there. The first stop from the Southwest Asia, Middle East, is Germany. And the Fisher House right there. And if the need be, they bring your family there. And I have not direct experience with the Fisher House, but indirect experience with my friends benefiting from it. And it's just awesome. There's no other way to put it for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. For a living in the military, I do a lot of the pay, the funding, and when we are in Europe, we're the gateway to a lot of these organizations, to a lot of the missions and operations. And a lot of our military personnel, whenever they are injured, regardless of where they're at, their first stop is right where we're at in Europe, at Landstuhl. Is the first line that they come to get their first injured looked, and to have the Fisher House there, and to be able to go visit, and being so close in the proximity to Landstuhl, it was just amazing. It was just an experience you just can't put in words. How the families really were just there, and they were focused on just the recovery of the soldier, the airman, the Marine. They weren't focused on how this was going to, at the cost at the end of the day. They were just making sure that they were praying and being there for the loved one while he or she was in recovery. So.
Awesome.
Hand covers 3. I think for time purposes, do you want to move on to our last one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great audio right now too, by the way.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Why are Fisher Houses a great resource for active duty service members and veterans alike? We'll start with you, Eva.
One more time the question. Sorry.
Why are Fisher Houses a great resource for active duty service members and veterans alike?
The Fisher House is a great resource for active duty members, and as that's my phone. Is that my phone or your phone?
I turned mine off.
Sorry. Can you put it on silent, because then it's gonna might ring again.
That's fine. You get more time to think about my question. So.
I feel redundant.
It's okay, because actually what will happen is whatever they'll pare down.
How do you turn off the sound?
Oh, right here.
I mean, but like the final edit will be 60 to 90 seconds.
Yeah.
So we have probably about 4 to 5 hours of footage today.
Okay.
So we're just,
So making sure we get the most crisp delivery.
Yeah.
And we can splice together.
Yeah.
Right?
And we're just saying
you need redundancy. I know it feels that way.
We want everyone kind of saying the same message.
I just want to make sure that if I repeat myself, that it's not like, we had that already. Okay.
No, I think you're great. Yeah. So I'll restate the question. Why are Fisher Houses a great resource for active duty service members and veterans alike?
Well, the Fisher House is a great resource for active duty members and veterans. As an active duty member myself for the past 28 years, having a resource like the Fisher House support our troops while their loved one is injured it's phenomenal. You can't really put a price in peace for family members and hope family members as they focus on their baby and their son, daughter, spouse as they recover from whatever injury. You just can't put a price on that, and I think having the Fisher House there is fantastic.
What about you?
That covered it. Yeah. Having the Fisher House provide that resources, just can't describe it. Like they identified a need and they filled it. I've said that a couple of times because it's just amazing. You just don't think about all the incidentals that add up when you travel, right?
Right.
And then a normal or the typical family, you get hurt, you're generally close to home, and it's already a trying time. It's already traumatic, and you have family coming to visit you in the hospital, but it's a local hospital. They go back home to their home, and they just have their normal expenses. Well, think about the average military person. When they get injured, they're far from home, and for the family to come see them and visit them and be there to support them, they have the added expense of that travel to get there plus lodging, and that adds up quick. And the Fisher House fills that need. That's huge, huge. It just can't be understated how valuable that is. Right. So our fairly indirect experience with the Fisher House, with my wife's nephew being injured, and the fact that his chain of command was able to work so well with the Fisher House to arrange lodging for his mother, her sister, was awesome. It was very traumatic time for her. Her son going away, being away from home, and then she gets the phone call that he's hurt and he's in the hospital, and she is not one that has a lot of resources, but of course she had to go to see about her son. She called my wife, and Eva immediately went out there, and when they arrived, they had found that the chain had already worked it out with the Fisher House to let them know that they were coming, dealt with the eligibility issues. They had space for them, and so that was one less worry for her while she was there. And you just, that kind of stuff, man, you just, who does that? The Fisher House does.
Tell me about your experience utilizing the Fisher House.
Well, my experience with the Fisher House is indirectly. My sister's son joined the Marine Corps, and during his training, he had an injury to his brain, to his head, and she put him in the hospital right away. My sister, just like we had limited resources growing up, so she immediately went to see him at Camp Pendleton, and she called me, being that I was active duty, to kind of go over for support system. And so when I got there, the son was still in the hospital, and we were dealing with that. The good news about that is that her company, her son's company, had already arranged lodging facilities for her and with her through the Fisher House. And I thought that was fantastic, being that, it was a crisis situation. He wasn't responsive. He had memory loss, so that we were dealing with a lot of stuff. So having that level of support early on in his career was really, really important.
That's probably tough.
It really was.
Well, I'm glad the Fisher House was there for you guys. It's super important. As an active duty member for armed services, tell me why the Fisher houses are such a great resource for our members and veterans.
Well, as an active duty member, I've served my country for 28 years, and I can tell you I have been at war many times as well, and I've seen airmen. I'm in the Air Force, so I've seen injuries from soldiers, airmen, Marines, hurt in combat, and to go back, and the starting point is in Lonsdale when you're hurt in theater, and having families, the support system that they need. Well, our airmen or military personnel pave, go at war, and they're paying the ultimate sacrifice. And so the Fisher House, having a resource like the Fisher House, some of these injuries are long-term, and some of these injuries are not recoverable at all. And so the families are in a state of need at that point. They're struggling to figure out whether their loved one is going to recover from a blast or from an IED or anything else like that. So it's really distressful for a military person. And so having an entity like the Fisher House support the military, I think is spot on. It is, whenever they say thank you for your service, I feel like saying thank you for your support, like the Fisher House.
So we had a lot of rumbling and tumbling outside here. If we
Oh, no.
You
Say it
don't
again.
have to go fully through that, but just if we could get you to kind of restate that question for us one more time, just so we get all the good bits and we don't have people.
Oh, right. What's going on outside?
I didn't even hear it. I heard all this rumbling sitting in that chair.
It started off pretty small.
When
it's a little bit, when I'm looking at you, I'm kind of like, the lav isn't going to pick it up, but then it kept getting a little more intense.
Yeah.
Like that.
You're doing great.
What are they doing out there?
You're doing great.
I was just going to be taking
You really are. Take a breath. Slow down just a little. You stalk. Okay.
Okay.
Our upstairs neighbors are home now.
I know. I could hear myself getting nervous. Oh, Theo, can I get my water?
You can set that water down right by your feet if you'd like to.
Mm-hmm.
Frame it all.
That way I'm not.
So probably good to give it a try. I
can hear it right now with my ear. Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, what is that?
I'll go outside and just put it away for them really quickly.
That's probably cleaning.
How long is the commercial gonna be?
60, 90 seconds. So there's two that we.
Oh.
So I mean.
Bits and pieces is gonna come on up from everybody into
Correct,
the. Okay.
Only the best usually how these things go.
Yeah.
Home for like 17 hours one day, and then
5-minute, 3-minute commercial.
maybe a minute.
Yeah.
Hopefully the rumble has stopped.
Yeah, it's just crazy. So we'll hop back into this. I don't really want to just pry on this stuff until you're ready to go again.
Yeah.
Because I mean, this is very personal things. So
Yeah.
we'll hop back into it. But family's important and amazing. We have to have them.
Yeah. It helps. I mean,
So you're not from Detroit, are you?
no.
No.
I'm from California.
Okay.
We met in the military, but and then Leo got out and I stayed in, which was odd. I thought Leo was going to stay in and I was going to get out. That was the ultimate. Like, I was all in into the military at first. I was like, who cares? I'm just going to get a paycheck and.
That would be a good question to ask too. Is just introduce yourself. Tell me what role you play in the military and.
I think there's a question in there what made us stay or come in or something like that. Keep. Yeah.
Say that again? One of the questions that you pre-prepared questions was when we're sitting together, asked what attracted us to the military and how we met and what made us choose the military as a career choice.
Yeah.
Right. That's what she's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And you were going to ask that question to us both.
Yeah, I think we probably could save it because that might be better for you guys to answer and kind
Together.
of bounce back and forth on that one.
I mean, what you just told us right there is how you were expecting to get out of the military, and then he was the one who actually ended up leaving. That that's pretty valuable information. So.
Well, I don't know if I want to say I didn't care about the military because.
Well, no, not. I mean, not expecting this.
Honesty plays so well in these type of things, even if it is
I know. Well, you got.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trying times.
All right, sound speed. Take 2.
So are we popping back to the previous question?
I think we
Yes.
do, yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So as an active duty member of our armed services, tell me why the Fisher Houses are such a great resource for service members and veterans.
As an active duty member, the Fisher House has been a tremendous help for the military. I've been in the military for over 20 years now, and I've been deployed to a number of operations, and I could tell you, seeing our airmen, Navy, soldiers, Marines out there in combat and getting injured by an IED, by a roadside bomb, or by anything else, and being in a state of emergency care and having to go back to the States or back to Europe at Landstuhl, having family surrounding them is really important for their health and for their recovery. Unfortunately, not everyone recovers, but having the family there through that process or the end of, if they ever serve the ultimate sacrifice, having family there is critical. And so having a resource like the Fisher House that will help support some of these family members is very important for us in our forces. Extremely important.
So important.
You nailed that.
I was like, take 2 is better.
Exactly.
I need 2 questions twice.
If there's ever a statement or like when you deliver it, you're like, oh, that really wasn't that great. Say something, and we'll definitely do it again.
Well, I didn't realize that, yeah.
I totally get it. Yeah, it's kind of.
We practiced, but we didn't want to seem rehearsed because then you'll forget.
And
But
it doesn't
we,
come off very
right? You want it
you
natural. I
like,
kind
I need you in this moment. Yeah. So you said 23 years.
8.
28 years.
Yes, I know.
It's coming.
Thank you.
2.
It's coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support on all of this.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I have so many questions I want to ask you, but I gotta stick to the script.
No, feel free. If you want to, go off script.
We'd be here for, 7 hours. Yeah. These guys now, like, we would be here so long. So we'll stick to the script, and I'll, add some in following up. So, why should people support the Fisher House? I mean, it's such an obvious cause. It's such a beautiful, simple thing, but it's so amazing. Why should people support it?
I think it's very important for Americans to be appreciative of, the men and women who serve in our armed forces. And when my husband and I were stationed in Germany, we had first-hand access to a Fisher House at Landstuhl. And visiting injured personnel there, seeing them injured, and some of them, we had one of our airmen that did not make it, coming out of Africa, did not make it. To have his family there was extraordinary, because these Americans, just like you and I, serve our nation, and you never know, right? You will never know when the day is the day. So having organizations like the Fisher House be part of our lives as well, I think is important. It's important for our families. It's important for us as Americans.
The Fisher House almost seems like a extension of family, in a sense.
Yes.
It's a resource.
Yes.
To have people be close to you. It's beautiful. So how many, you said there was a Fisher House in Germany. How many are there? And how big is the organization? Do we know this?
I don't want to.
I have no idea.
I'm just curious.
I do not know.
In Germany, just the one.
There's that one. There's one at Landstuhl. That's the hub of everyone.
Okay.
That's, I think, to me, that's the most important. Well, they're all important, right? But the one in Landstuhl, to me, is the most important one, because all combat-related injuries go to the Fisher House in Landstuhl. And the Fisher House in Landstuhl is the first stop of armed forces injuries, all of them. And so they get you either patched up or make you as comfortable as possible. And so having families there, take an 18-hour flight or however 12-hour flight to Germany and land at the Fisher House and have a resource like the Fisher House where it provides lodging and accommodations, there's no value, there's no price to put on that. I think it's very important having an asset like the Fisher House in a state like Landstuhl in Germany.
I'm like,
with this, it's but it's
Let them sit down.
just give them a second.
Grabbing a snack from the kitchen.
Yeah. Is it really interrupting our audio?
We have some bass, but I don't think it's gonna be loud.
Okay. You make the decision, but I'd like to just
Give it 2
yeah.
seconds. There we go.
I think we should be good. It's those high bass.
Even real wood clothes, I'm surprised.
I mean, for people in Germany, when you go and you stop there on the way home, right, to get what you just said, patched up, there's no other option. When they fly over, right, that's where they stay.
Right.
It's not like, you can go to Motel 6.
Well, they're, you
there's
can say in the economy, but it's expensive. It's Europe. It's euros. And you couldn't afford, the cost of living is different. You can't afford to stay in the economy at a euro price.
For a long term.
Right. And the second best thing about it is co-located with a hospital. So it's within walking distance from the medical center, really. So you're there. It's a one-stop shop for lodging. and you walk and see your loved one right next to it. That's the location of it is also premier.
Literally across the street.
Yeah.
How big is the Fisher House in Germany? Is it like
About this size?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's a little bit bigger and because they have extended the main office and then they have extensions, so it's kind of hard to say, but they're occupied consistently because the medevac people get medevac, and sometimes they're there for a day or, depends on your injury, the level of injury. But the Lonsdale has one of the best military doctors there just because that's the first stop for all injured personnel in combat. Yeah.
we're probably pretty safe to get into it now.
Wait, should we go ask them? Like, hey, are you guys aware?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that, Jack? You want me to?
If you do, you can handle it?
I can do that.
Yeah, I'd love that. Yeah. Thanks.
Hey, stop moving around.
I mean,
We've got like 20 minutes, right?
we've got 20 minutes and we're on our last question.
Yeah.
Is there anything about the Fisher House or First Nation group that I didn't ask and that you would like to share?
Well, first I would like to say thank you to First Nation groups for their generosity to an organization like the Fisher House. So many military members have benefited from an organization like the Fisher House. It just goes without saying. And then also very, very grateful for being part of a First Nation family, to have them contribute to the local economy and to our armed forces.